Hi, my name is Ken Feinstein, Vice President of Midcom's Data Technologies, and welcome to our webinar. For over 35 years, Midcom has been a leader in barcode printing and barcode scanning solutions. I'm very excited today to introduce our guest, Scott Palance from Seagull Scientific, who will go over the next version or the latest version of Bartender software. We invite everyone to participate by asking questions as you think of them. You can type in the chat box, it should be on your panel there, and we'll have time at the end to go over them. And now it's my pleasure to turn this over to Scott.
Hey, thanks, Ken, and thanks everybody for participating. Really appreciate your time. So we will take a little view of Seagull Scientific, the company, and then we're going to take a deep dive into Bartender 2021. There are a number of companion applications that are part of Bartender. We'll cover each one of them as we go along. We're proud to announce that Seagull Scientific's been in business for 36 years. Actually, this month we're celebrating 36 years of being in the business. Bartender software is our core. That's what we do. We develop our own printer drivers at Seagull Scientific for all the major manufacturers. And the reason we do that is so that there's a seamless integration between Bartender and the printer itself. We're a global company headquartered in Bellevue, Washington, with sales and service offices in Madrid, Taipei, and Tokyo. And why is that important? If you're a global company, we have local service and support in region in your current time zone. We work very closely with GS1 so that anytime there's any new releases of a GS1 barcode, Bartender actually has that new barcode supported in the release of Bartender. So now we'll take a deep dive into Bartender 2021. There are 4 editions of Bartender: Starter, Professional, Automation, and Enterprise. So we have an edition for any need. The Starter and Professional are typically geared toward a small to medium-sized business where their labeling requirements are fairly simplistic. Maybe they just have a database, an Excel sheet to pull data from. And then we have an Automation and Enterprise license that are more geared toward a larger corporation with an ERP or a WMS or MES system to manage the printing process. So again, all these editions fit any scaling market. It could go from a small retailer all the way to a global enterprise supporting thousands of printers with one Bartender license. With Bartender, everything starts with the label template design. If you can create a PowerPoint presentation, you can create a label template in Bartender. You want a barcode, you simply click on this barcode icon, pick the barcode type, drag it and drop it onto the label. Same thing for a text object. You click on the text icon, pick the point size, font, and drag it and drop it onto the label. We also support RFID objects, encoding, and images. So typically what an operator will do is design all the static elements on the label, things that don't change, right? Then after that, they're going to align the objects on the label that have variable data. And we can connect to multiple data sources, but in this example, I'm just gonna simply connect on the database icon, and on the left pane, you see the database objects. You simply drag and drop the variable field from the database to the variable field on the label. So there's no programming required. Bartender does all the connection between the database and the variable field on the label. So what you notice here is you see the S, P, A, and E. Again, Starter, Professional, Automation, and Enterprise. As I go through each slide, you'll see these letters on the top of the slide, and that will show what editions support what functionality. So Basic Bartender, Designer, connect to an Excel sheet, start your printing from this screen here is supported in the Starter edition. Once you've created the once you've created the template and connected to the database, now I'm going to create the user interface for Bartender, for the operator. So we have a Forms tool that allows you to make a very unique interface for the operator. Typically what you'll do is you'll set it up so that there's a prompt for the operator, hey, enter order number, for instance, a unique key field in the database to pull the variable data from the database and hit the print button. You see here 1.00, that's here because we can support weight scales and dynamically take data right from a weight scale. So if you need weight data on your label, we can pull that automatically from a weight scale. So the Forms tool is supported in Professional, Automation, and Enterprise. You'll notice that Starter is not here, so there's no Forms tool in the Starter edition. One nice feature we've added in Bartender 2021 is a Pantone color picker. We're finding a lot of requirements lately for color printing. And as any marketing person would like it, they'd want the color on the label, if it's the company logo, for instance, to be as close as Pantone as possible. So we've created some tools in the Bartender to help get that color on the label as close as possible. So the Pantone color picker is supported in Starter, Professional, Automation, and Enterprise. Another feature in Bartender 2021 is the phrase library. A lot of companies, for instance, if you ship to Canada, you need to print all your labels in English and also in French. So we've created a phrase library that simplifies that process of having to print multiple languages on one single label. The phrase library is available in the Enterprise Edition. In regulated markets, such as in regulated industries, such as food and beverage, medical device, pharma, chemical, aerospace, where the label that gets out onto the product is very important to be accurate. One typical thing that customers do is to mitigate the risk of a bad label getting out is to lock operators in and out of certain functions within Bartender. So via Active Directory, you can assign user groups and roles. So a typical scenario would be where I have 5 operators that I'm going to allow have access to label design. Everybody else in the company is locked out. And of those 5 people, operator number 4 is the production manager and operator number 5 is the QA manager. And I want those 2 people to be the only ones who can release a label to production. So again, operator number 1 through 3, they can design labels, but they're not authorized to release a label to production. So again, what this does, this is kind of the first step of securing down your label environment so that you have control of what label gets to production and what does not. This functionality is available in Professional, Automation, and Enterprise. Next step to that security is what we call Bartender Librarian. It's a central secured repository for label templates. So when you load Bartender, you get a SQL Express, and all the label templates are securely stored in that back end. Instead of having the label templates sitting out in a network folder, they're securely stored in the Access or the SQL database. So I earlier talked about that business process where you have to have people authorized to release a label to production. So within the workflow module in Bartender, you can set up as many steps or as few as you want. So we'll just kind of walk through our example here, and I'm going to assign a label job to Johnny within Librarian. Johnny will get a notification that a label template job is up for review. You can see when Johnny checked the label in, when he checked it out, and now Johnny says, I'm done with the label template. I'm going to push it to the next person for authority to review the label to see if it can go to production. So it goes next to the production manager in my example. The production manager will get an email, take a look at the label template to make sure it meets the specifications required, and that person can either forward it to the next person, the QA manager, or reject it with comments. So it can go back. It could go back to Johnny. Johnny, here are the comments, here are the things that you need to change, and it goes back through the flow until that label is approved by the people that you've determined would be the right people, right? Common also in organizations, they may have their marketing people authorize a label. They may have legal look at it. Again, depending on the products that you're shipping and the risk, you can add as many steps or as few in this process. So with Bartender, we can connect to just about any data source, any ERP or WMS or MES system. So we're pretty much agnostic to any system. In this illustration, Bartender is running as a service, waiting for what we call a trigger event. And the trigger event is simply print a label. And in that file is typically the label template name, the variable data, and which printer do I send it to on the network. So the beauty of this environment is that your operators are still working in their ERP or WMS or MES system that they know very well. They don't even know Bartender exists. They just hit the print button or do their transaction, and the right label comes out at the right information in the right place. There are a number of different methods in which that triggered print job can happen. Most common or historically has been a file drop, where we're monitoring a file folder, and when a file drops in it, we pick it up and process it. But more common as of late with higher end ERP and WMS systems is what we call web service integration. You're doing a web service call to Bartender, and the beauty of a web service call is it's as fast as possible. And the other thing is you get a message back that the print job went through just fine. Other options are network socket, and there's a number of different methods. Database integration is different than what I talked about in that a new record comes into the database and we automatically process that file. With Bartender and Automation and Enterprise, you get the integration module as part of the software. You don't have to buy it separately. Again, Automation and Enterprise, you get these the integration platform built in here. So I talked earlier about a web service integration. If you want to set that up, you simply click on web service, and we expose all the things that need to be set up for a web service integration. So again, everything's built into Bartender. You don't have to buy anything separate. Bartender 2021, we added some new database, our data connectors, Excel Online, QuickBooks, JSON is a data format, and Excel, Google Sheets as well. So, and these connectors are also available in Professional Automation and Enterprise. Now let's talk about licensing. All editions of Bartender, Starter, Professional, Automation, and Enterprise are licensed the same way, in that we're licensed by the total number of printers in use, unlimited users. So you can load Bartender on as many workstations as you want, geared by the total number of printers. And as long as you're on a common network, it doesn't matter where you are in the world to print a Bartender. So if you can connect to the license server via VPN, WAN, or LAN, you can print from anywhere in the world. In this example, I'm going to talk about a 3-printer license, and the Asia site needs to print a label. Hey, license server, I'm printer number 3. Is that a valid license printer in the pool? Yes, it is. Print the label. Similarly, hey, license server, I'm printer number 2. I need to print a label. Automatically print the label. So we're licensed by total number of printers, unlimited users, as long as you have a common connection back to that licensing server. So common questions we get is, wow, Scott, you know, we do have some locations that are not on our network, and it could be a situation where a franchise retailer, or perhaps you're a manufacturer and you want your suppliers to be able to print labels per your specification. So in that environment, the manufacturer could host the Bartender license. And again, this is an enterprise functionality, and you can expose a login for your suppliers. They can log into that portal. They don't have to have Bartender loaded on their computer. log into their portal, they see a thumbnail image of the labels they have access to print, and they can print labels locally no matter where they are in the world. So again, the most common situation is a connection to the license server via LAN, WAN, or VPN. But if you don't have that, no problem. We still support internet printing, and it could be on the tablet, it could be on the phone, it doesn't really matter. As long as you can open up a browser, you can print labels with Bartender. And the beauty of this situation, again, is the manufacturer is hosting that license, so they have complete control of the label templates. The supplier doesn't have to worry about it. If there's a change, it happens in real time. The other thing to note too here is you see this in an enterprise function. So I talked earlier about that integration with an ERP. That can be happening all day long. You can be printing thousands of label prints a day. At the same time, this same license can be hosting your suppliers.
And Scott, just to clarify, that supplier hosting it is only in the enterprise.
That is correct. Yep. Thank you. So this is just an idea of what the user experience would be like. They'd see a thumbnail image of the label, they click on it. If there's a prompt required, enter order number or whatever to retrieve data from the database, they would be prompted for that. And then they can print labels again locally. They can print the PDF. They could even print without a driver at the supplier location. The other thing I talked about, that approval process earlier with the Librarian. Print Portal also supports approval via a browser, so they wouldn't have to have Bartender loaded to open up that and check out the label and either approve or deny it. And this gives you an idea of the level of customization that we can do in the Print Portal. So you can make it look and feel exactly like you want. You can put your own company logo in there. Again, this is very customizable. And the other really cool thing is you can even set this up so that each supplier has a different set of thumbnail images that they see, so that they cannot see labels that they shouldn't be printing. So every portal, if you will, can be customized by the user. Okay, so if you can imagine and again, we have these situations where we are supporting thousands of printers across a global network. And obviously in manufacturing environment, uptime is important. If things are down, then revenue stops. So we have a number of backup and redundancy options. So we have this triad configuration, which uses a single license, and there's no extra cost to that. And then we have two other options, and I'll just kind of talk about the enhanced backup failover next. So this is an environment where you have your active license running your production, and then you have a second license that's just sitting, waiting, available to be used. So they're not running at the same time. But if one goes down, then you can set up the other one to take over in the production. And that secondary license is 15% off a list price. But if you as an end user say, no, I can't make any risk, I can't have any downtime whatsoever, some customers go with an active method where you literally have two Bartender licenses standing up, and one automatically fails over to the other. So just in summary, Bartender 2021, we talked about commercially quality designs. That's kind of geared toward that color picker that we talked about. We talked in detail about the QA function and making sure that the right label gets out into production. We talked about more integration options with the Google Sheets, etc. And we talked at length about our browser-based printing, which again is just another flexible thing that you can use with the enterprise license. And then we just got done talking about the downtime and business continuity situation there. So we have a fantastic support team and support site. We have videos out there on label design, on setting up a form, a number of, again, kind of free resources that you can use, you can look at on the Bartender support portal. So again, if you have questions, pop out there. There could be a video that you can look at and review and learn from. We also have a customer portal, so you can log into our portal, opt in for notifications. So we have important news like a new version or a new support option that we get information out to you. You can download Bartender from the customer portal, and you can also track your licenses in there. We do have some really nice options for customers who are just getting started with Bartender. It's called Quick Start, and it's a 2-hour remote training program. We definitely recommend it if you're a new user that you just order the Quick Start program with that, and you'll have a Bartender professional reach out to you, help you with installation, train you on label design, forms, things like that. But if you get into more of a complex application where you go, yep, I'm integrating SAP or Dynamics 365, and I want some assistance setting up my Bartender integration. We also have those services. They're customized by opportunity. So if you need that, reach out to your team at MidCom, and they'll get us engaged, and we'll have a scope call so that we can get a quote together. But again, we have all these services available. Again, the Quick Start's a great value to get you up and running. And if you want more information, you got sales at MidCom Data. For users who have an older version of Bartender and perhaps you had lapsed the maintenance, we have a promotion that's going through December 31st that gives a 50% discount on the back pay that you would normally have to pay. And once you are on maintenance, even if you're on a, let's say a 10.1, which is end of support, if you get on maintenance, you can get Bartender 2021 for free. And then also you can get access to our technical support standard option. Excuse me. And then we also have incentives, 15% discount if you buy 3 years of software maintenance up front or when you do your renewal. The other thing I want to mention here that isn't on the slide is we also offer premium support, which is, again, in those environments where you may be running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Premium support provides 7x24 support with a 2-hour response time. And if you think of the cost of downtime versus the cost of that premium support, I think you'll find it's going to be a really great value, something to consider.
Yeah, and I just want to comment, the training and those extra services, we've had several customers that utilize the 2-hour training sessions, especially any users that may not be as familiar with the software. So definitely a great offer.
Awesome. So we have continual learning opportunities with Bartender. We have webinars that we hold monthly on different topics, repeated every month as small businesses. So learn how to connect a label template to a data source. And then we also have one that's more geared toward enterprise. A lot of the things that I talked about today, the integrations, the more complex implementations of Bartender. So again, these webinars are free. We definitely encourage you to check out our webinar selection. We've done Librarian, we've done redundancy, we get into all those options. So definitely want to encourage you to take advantage of those opportunities.
Looks like we have a few questions that have come in. Let's see, that's a couple questions here. We have one person that asked about professional versus automation. Scott, maybe you can mute your microphone because I think there's some feedback.
Okay.
And the person's asked, I have professional edition and I need ERP integration. Do I need to purchase a new automation or enterprise, or is there an upgrade path?
Yeah, so great question. If you have professional today, what I like to say about Bartender is you can walk first and then run if you want to, right? So if your needs today are, Bartender professional, connect to a database, and then now your company has purchased an ERP system, you can actually, there is an upgrade path from professional to automation and even from professional to enterprise.
Another person here has asked, what does maintenance include? Which maybe you can go over that again.
Sure. So again, standard support, you get phone support you can access. Our technicians will get on with you and do a session where you're actually sharing screens. And then what's really important again to keep up your maintenance is when we come out with, let's say, hypothetically, we have a Bartender 2022 in the near future. If you're on Bartender 2021, every new version of Bartender is free as long as you're on maintenance. And these aren't just service releases, they're major releases. And you have the ability to just download them, use the same key, and take advantage of the new features.
Yeah, I think one of the key things about maintenance and keeping maintenance up to date is really the support, because without that support and having your maintenance up to date, it's very difficult, or maybe you can comment on that, Scott. You're going to have a tough time talking to somebody on the phone to get that support. Is that correct?
Yeah, so free support is email only. There's no chat, there's no conversation, it's just email support. So yeah, obviously,
you get that maintenance in place, you're now talking to a real person that can help solve problems.
That is correct, yeah.
This is, I think you touched on this, but you have to go back to one of your slides. What do I do if I swap out a printer? Do I have to buy a new license for that printer?
So there is, let me back up here, maybe that'll help. So in the licensing module, or the license server, there is the ability. So let's just say through printer number 3 goes out of service, and if you have not used printer number 3 for 7 days, basically Bartender will refund that license. And when you're purchasing Bartender, and let's just say you only have 3 printers, we suggest you just buy 5, because there are going to be situations whereby maybe you are using printers or adding printers, and it's just better to maybe add a few extra printers to your purchase just to make sure that you're keeping in check with your needs.
But Bartender, so if a printer goes down, Bartender's looking, saying, wait a minute, how many printers are actually connected? So if you're swapping one out, it should recognize that, hey, this is, printer number 10, or printer number, in this case, printer number 3 is out. There's a new printer here. Since only 3 are connected, it auto detects and says, we'll use this for now.
Right. We'll license 1, 2, and 4 after 7 days. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we have another question here. It says, do I have to pay a yearly subscription to use the software, or is it a one-time fee?
So Bartender is a perpetual license, meaning you buy it, you own it. And we always encourage, like I said, you renew your license. But if for some reason you had a delay in getting the maintenance renewal in, that doesn't mean Bartender is going to stop running. It will continue to run. You just will, be more difficult to get support. So it's not going to shut off if the maintenance expires, but again, we don't recommend that.
Yeah, so you're paying a one-time fee for the software. The maintenance is what's keeping you up to date, giving you support.
Right.
Someone's asking, how are the additional software licensed and sold? I know you mentioned 3-packs, but is there any other quantities they sell them in?
Yeah, so with Bartender 2021, you basically can purchase, let me think here, automation and enterprise are a minimum of 2 printers to start, plus the application or the server license. And then if at any time you need to add 1, 2, 5, 6, it doesn't matter, you can add those printer licenses. So let's just say you purchased this 3 printer license, and 2 months later you opened up another manufacturing line, you need to add another printer. You simply contact Midcom Data, get a quote to add a printer to the license. Once we process that order at Seagull Scientific, we update our backend system so that it now reflects that you own a 4 printer license and you don't have to do anything. Your license will periodically reach out to our licensing service and it will acknowledge that you're now a 4 printer license.
So yeah, to answer that, then really it's, you can buy individual licenses, customize it. If you need 17 license printers, you can get 17. You don't have to buy 10 packs and 20 packs.
That is correct.
And there's another question came in. How do I know what version of Bartender I have?
So if you go into your Bartender, open it up, help and about, and that will show a edition version, and then you can cut, basically clip that out, cut and paste it, and then send that off to Midcom Data, your rep at Midcom Data. And then again, they can check your maintenance status, check your version, and see what we can do to get you up to date.
Sounds good. I think that's going to be, I think we got all the questions answered that came in. Scott, maybe we can advance your slides.
Sure.
I'll let people know in the meantime, if you'd like more information about Bartender or you have questions you think of after the webinar ends, definitely give us a call here at Midcom. We are at 800-643-2664, or you can go to www.midcomservicegroup.com/bartender-software, and you can download a free 30-day trial. I will say that there will be a copy of this webinar made available, and we will be emailing that out to you. I'd also like to thank Scott again for sharing all that great information with the newest edition of Bartender 2021. And this will now conclude our webinar. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.